Welcome back, third grade scientists. This is our last week in Unit 4 on weather and climate. So these will be your last few vocabulary words for this unit. So let's get going. Today, we will review together the academic and content vocabulary for this unit of study. We will look over the word meanings, study some examples to help you understand the work you will be doing this week in your science lessons. Let's get going. We will look at both academic and content vocabulary. Just a quick reminder, remember, the academic words are the words you might find in your objectives and your questions, and you may see them across other content areas or subject areas in school. But the content words are the words that are specific to our weather and climate unit in science. Let's take a look at two new academic vocabulary words. These are some of the lesson objectives you have for this week. One of them is summarize why this type of technology is useful to society. You'll notice that I have the word summarize highlighted in red. Theorize what would happen. The word theorize is also highlighted in red. So our two new academic vocabulary words for this week are summarize and theorize. Take a moment and think about whether or not you've ever heard these words before, possibly in another subject area. Maybe you were asked to summarize a text in ELA or to write a summary. Do you remember what that means? Can you make a connection to that word? Can you think of an example of when you may have had to summarize before? Or theorize. What do you think these words mean? Take a moment to think before we move on. Summarize. To summarize is a verb or an action word. It means to restate in a concise or a brief form. Another word that means the same thing is to sum up. So when you summarize or write or say a summary, it means you've read or studied information and now you're restating it or retelling it using your own words and focusing on the important points or the main ideas of what you read. You can think of it this way. The word summarize begins with the letters S-U-M. So when you summarize it, you say it shorter than the text or write it shorter than the actual text. You use your own words and you include the main ideas or the most important information only. Theorize. Theorize is also a verb. It means to form a new theory or idea. Another word that means the same thing is to hypothesize. So when you theorize, it's when you're making an inference, you're reading information, you're studying information or a subject, and then you're coming up with your own ideas or theories about that information. That's what it means to theorize. So think about this. These are some other words that are connected or similar to the word theorize. When you speculate, when you wonder, infer, presume, suspect. All of these, you're doing all of these things when you're reading and taking in information and then coming up with your own ideas or explanations about that information. Now let's take a look at some of the important content words for this week. These are some words that you will learn throughout your lessons during science this week. You will come across the word inventor, technology, and barometer. Before we move on to the meanings and look at some examples of these words, stop for another moment and think about whether you have ever heard or read these words somewhere before. What do you think they mean? And can you think of any examples? Our first word is inventor. An inventor is a noun. An inventor is someone who invents or creates something that is new, something that didn't exist before, or maybe even make an improvement on an invention. Inventors are the superheroes in our lives that we don't always think about or consider superheroes. But when you think about it, almost everything you use, play with, touch, tools that you use for school, things that you use around your house, they didn't just grow out of the ground or exist on the planet. They had, the idea for them had to be created or invented by somebody. And if you think about it that way, they really are superheroes. Here's a famous inventor that what would we do without Thomas Edison? Thomas Edison is most famous for inventing the light bulb. Can you imagine not having a light bulb to use in your house? What would we do without this famous inventor? Technology. Technology is also a noun. Technology are the inventions and methods of solving practical problems that are produced through research in that industry. Let's look at some examples of technology. So remember, technology is anything that was created by man to solve a problem. So very often we think of technology as electronics, things that have to be plugged in. So I bet when I said the word technology to you, these are the kinds of things you think about. Computers, cameras, phones, memory cards, headphones, all the things that we plug in that need electricity and that we consider electronics. When you say the word technology, that's automatically what you think of. But remember, technology can be as simple as this stapler. It did not just grow out of the ground. This was invented by somebody to solve a problem of holding paper together. So think about that when you think about technology. Remember what we said in our last video. Go on a little scavenger hunt around your house. It won't take long to find many examples of technology. They are just inventions that were made to solve a practical problem. And finally, barometer. Barometer is a weather technology, and it is a noun. A barometer is an instrument that measures the pressure of the atmosphere and that is used to predict weather. Meteorologists still use it every day today. Here is an example of a barometer. So this is an old-fashioned type of dial barometer. Many meteorologists today use digital barometers. So the barometer has evolved over time, but it's still one of the most important weather technologies used today. So this has been a lot of fun exploring these awesome words about weather and climate throughout this unit. Now you're familiar with a whole bunch of awesome words around weather and climate. You will be able to use them and understand them during your learning. You're doing amazing work. Keep it up there, great scientists.